Hello Hastings, welcome to a special interview here on Tom Wright, and we are inside the school board room at the school district office talking to this man right here, a familiar face on HCTV, Mr. Vince O'Brien. Vince, how are you doing?
Good, Tom. Thank you, and thanks to HCTV for the interview.
Yes. The reason we're here to chat with Mr. O'Brien is that this guy, three-term school board member, over 12 years, 11 years?
Something like that.
Something like that. Is now moving off. He's moving to Colorado, an exciting new opportunity there as the executive director for the Colorado Bar Continuing Legal Education Program.
Yep.
Did I get that right?
Yep.
So it's a big deal. This is a huge deal, the chair of the board and leaving town. So we're going to talk about the decision, the new job that and what you'll be doing in Colorado. And we'll also talk about how this affects the school board here in Hastings. And then the fun part, we're going to reflect on Vince's time here as a school board. So lots of interesting questions I have for you eager to hear about. So Vince, let's talk about this decision. This is a big one, picking up and going this new exciting opportunity in Colorado. Tell us the story of how did this come about?
Well, the current executive director is a man named Gary Abrams. And he called me in late August during a program I was running at the River Center in St. Paul and told me he was going to be retiring and said that he thought highly of me and that he would like me to apply and he wanted me to take over his position, his staff. And people feel sort of parochial about their staffs in this industry. CLE is a weird thing, continuing legal education. Mm-hmm. When my parents were alive, I never tried to explain what CLE was. I mean, it's just something people never understood, so I don't even try. But lawyers and judges have to have continuing education. So these entities exist in the states and the provinces in Canada to provide continuing education for lawyers and judges. And Gary called me. I had been president of the entire association of CLE administrators a few years back, and Gary knew me for about 10, 12 years and thought I'd be good. And then I wasn't going to do it. I love Minnesota. I grew up in Minnesota. I've lived my whole life in Minnesota. And then in Hastings, I have such a strong bond with the schools. My older kids went here. My younger kids are ready to go through. Joey's already in the first grade. I love the teachers. I love the system. I love the administration. I think we're going in the right direction. The town, I could be 5 minutes from my house and be running in cornfields with fireflies in the summer. Mm-hmm. And to me, that I was aware of that. I did appreciate it. I've loved it. And to think about leaving is so hard, but where I'm at, we had a change in our executive director earlier this summer, and this is a wonderful and rare opportunity, and it's just a weird industry where in order to take an executive director position meant having to leave. Colorado's similar to Minnesota in some ways, so it's actually a good opportunity. I've met the staff there. I'm excited about that. They seem like really good people and people I can work with and learn from and help. So I'm excited.
Good, and as you should be. It sounds like a great opportunity, great fit for you. Was it something? What flipped your mind on that? You said you initially didn't want to do it, but was there something that happened, or is there a moment, or is it just kind of started just slowly leaning towards the other way?
It's really hard to make big decisions like this because you don't know everything you should be taking into consideration. And in some ways, that's similar to making decisions for a school board or in another entity. So I tried to identify what the potential issues were and looked at pros and cons. Salary, of course, plays a role, whether or not the family can make the transition. And my wife was always excited about it. Amy is excited about the prospects. Her daughter, Haley, my stepdaughter, is a tremendous help with the kids, and she's moving along with us. And the two youngest children, Delaney is 3, and I'm not so sure she appreciates the nuances of the move. Joey is 6. It has a huge impact on him. my older kids, Maddie, who's a teacher now in school, in the school system here at the high school, she's getting married this summer, and she and her husband will probably live in Egan or Hastings or who knows where, but they'll be okay. And my son Connor is a student at Carthage in Wisconsin, and he could wind up anywhere. So family was going to be okay as long as we can make the adjustment for Joey. But not having my kids go through this school system is a huge deal. And not being able to live in a community where I could literally keep the doors unlocked and feel comfortable and feel safe. And I served on the fire department here for 20 years. Yep. I know this community pretty well at this point and love it. So all those things were taken together, and then, so I wasn't going to go. And then they started calling. Gary called, but then other people started calling me. And that stuff makes a difference. I felt flattered. So I did engage in the process and was fortunate to be chosen.
There you go. So you're leaving at the end of this month in January, correct?
Yep.
And your family is going to stay, as I understand, your family will stay throughout the rest of the school year with
Yes.
Joey? Okay.
Yep, Joey's going to finish the first grade with Mrs. Cost and Kristen McCullough Elementary, and again, that's bittersweet.
Yes.
But there's a lot of work that needs to be done on the house before we can sell it. It's going to be hard on the family. It's going to be hard on Amy, Haley. Maddie helps out a lot with all that. It's going to be difficult, but the family's working together, and hopefully it'll be okay.
Great. School board now. How does this affect the school board? I understand there's already been some shake-up here and getting getting the new chair and all that. So tell us what's taken place since you've made this decision.
Lisa Hedin is the new chair of the school board. She's in her second term, I believe, on the school board, and does a wonderful job. She's a background as an engineer. I don't know if people know about that. And she brings some of that thought process to when she makes decisions and engages in processes, and has 2 kids in the system. And her family is very engaged in the school system. I think Lisa will be a great leader for the school board going forward.
And so when's your last meeting? Do you get one more meeting?
I get one more meeting next week here in this room. It'd be nice to go back to my old chair down at the end of the table for that. And to put it into context, when I first came on the school board, I was very interested in learning about the history of the school board here in Hastings as part of understanding what my role was. And Shirley Meyer was the assistant to the superintendent at the time. Shirley, I came to know, knew everything about the school district. She's been replaced by Deanna Warner, who now knows everything about the school district. But Shirley was such a font of knowledge and wisdom about so many goings on in the school district that it became apparent to me that getting to know Shirley would probably be the best way to get to know the Hastings School District. But the school district here has been around since the 1860s, and it would be foolish to think that any one of us or any school board, any particular school board, is all that important. We are important in helping to guide and shape policy, affirm the wonderful things going on, and try to steer things in the right direction. But it's not about us. It's about the kids in the classrooms, the buildings, the teachers, the administrators. This morning, those crossing guards, it's around 0 this morning. Tomorrow it's supposed to be 15 below. Man, you can't forget the crossing guards.
Nope, yeah.
And the custodians and the secretaries and the cooks, it's such a vast thing.
Looking back at your 3 terms here, over 11 years on the school board, what stands out to you as your most memorable accomplishments? What are you most proud of that's been accomplished here?
Working together with the other board members and the administrators and appreciating what it meant to do that was very important. I think the most notable thing I did was the site visits. When I first started on the school board, even though at the time I had a kid in high school and in middle school, I decided to start doing these site visits. And I would go to every site in the district, and each time I did it, I would usually do 2 classroom visits. And I would go in and not really be noticeable and not interfere with what was going on in the classroom, but just observe what was going on. You know, kids look different every year. Teachers use different techniques to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish, and it really reflects their values. And being in those classrooms and at those sites over the years really informed me in wonderful ways about the best things going on in the district. So many examples of that, whether it's wonderful uses of technology, getting to see second graders collaborate on editing each other's writing, or work on new ways of math, or the Spark class at the high school, or Dave Davenport and all the wonderful things he does there with the shop and IT stuff, or the ALC and the people who are committed there and do good work, or special services. Those site visits probably were the number one thing that I did.
What are you going to miss the most?
Oh, you know, it all comes down to the people, those relationships. I sent the district a farewell email a little while back, and I had so many people reach back to me through that email and they were people, and my assistant at work said, well, you don't have to get back to all of them, but I wanted to. They were all people I knew and all people I feel I have a relationship with. And I will miss that. If I had to pick something that encapsulates everything that happens in the school year, it's the senior choir when they sing at the spring concert. To me, that's the graduation speech. There doesn't need to be a graduation speech. If you watch the kids that are singing during the senior portion of that concert, and you watch the parents in the auditorium and the grandparents in the auditorium, or loved ones in the auditorium, and you see all that's going on and how they participate in those songs, and I do think it's unique. I think Hastings has a wonderful music program. To me, that encapsulates everything about the school year, everything that's good about schools, and it transcends the music department to define the entire experience in a way that's very powerful. And so I've always felt sort of that graduation speech is a waste of time. People could have just watched the concert. And you have to get involved, you have to get engaged in it, but it works.
And on the flip side, what are you going to miss the least?
There's a very old comment from Macbeth that goes like this. Shakespeare supposedly wrote it, a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury signifying nothing. And a long time ago when I used to hear complaints, I thought of that line, tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury signifying nothing. And I even had it taped to my desk. And I would look at it when I was listening to people complain. But then time started to evolve, and I learned that the complaints people had were based on the passion they have for either their kid or the schools. And if you read that line from Macbeth in the full context of it, Shakespeare is actually celebrating the sound and the fury that people exhibit when they're making these comments, when they're engaging in what we might consider the trivial nuances of life, and they're making a complaint about them. And the passion that they bring to those complaints and the stuff that they complain about is actually very much worth listening to. It's the essence of life. It's the exact opposite of what I initially thought it was. It's their brief time upon the stage, so to speak. And so it's not the complaints. You know, I have to honestly say I'm not going to miss anything about it. I mean, I'm not going to feel, there's nothing negative. Because, you know, when you come on the school board, you might think that some of the people are wearing black hats or whatever and are not good people or whatever. But that's just simply not true. I suppose the worst part is occasionally somebody has to get terminated. for either a behavioral reason under the law or through budget reductions. That is a very difficult thing, and I won't miss that. And similarly, a student that has to be disciplined to the point of being suspended or expelled. There's nothing good about that.
What did you learn from your years on a school board? What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about the school district? Perhaps something that maybe surprised you that you weren't aware of before.
Just the growing value of collaboration and diversity, which we need more of, and the ability to look ahead. And it strengthened some of my ability to try to look ahead and see what was coming, instead of just working mired in the illusions of budget reductions due to declining enrollment. Where do you want to be as a district? And then where we started Vision 2025 and how that evolved. Each year the board seems different. It is different. Different people, different sentiments, things change. Administrators change, teachers change. Sometimes the goals in the schools change for different reasons. Either the standardized testing stuff that the state and federal government constantly puts on people, or the staff development committee comes up with things. And what I saw is the ability of people to be resilient and wise and work hard. And I guess it still surprises me that teachers work as hard as they do. They work incredibly hard. So let's say you do your job running HCTV and you do a wonderful job and you're really good at it, but
We can go with that, sure.
every 3 years you have to, let's say every 3 years you have to completely change what you do
Oh, yeah.
in a lot of ways. And that's what happens to teachers. And they roll with it. They embrace it and they learn it and they do it. And of course it's top down. It's not top down in the sense of being micromanaged, but it comes from the government or it comes from administration. And they work with that without a negative reflection. And it's wonderful to see.
Looking back at your time, is there anything, if you could go back and do it differently, vote differently, is there anything that you would do differently?
You bet. We learn from mistakes, right? Brad Stoneberg, if you're watching, I'm still sorry about getting mad at you over that thing we argued about years ago. Brad was a wonderful school board member, and I thought I did pretty good too, and we both had a difference of opinion about a particular issue we were working through one time.
And what was that issue?
I can't tell you about the issue.
Okay.
But I can tell you that I blew up at Brad one time. And to this day, I consider that to be a mistake and really bad form, bad behavior. So there are much better, and that's, of course, I've learned from that, and it's helped me out. But there's nothing good about what I did, but I learned from that.
What do you foresee in the crystal ball? What do you see in the crystal ball for School District 200? What lies ahead? What challenges lie ahead? I'll put it that way.
The challenge is to figure out the things that should be nurtured and the things that might not need to be nurtured as we go forward. And what I mean by that is, let's say we keep losing about 65 students a year and there's less funding. Yet we know there's costs associated with things. We want to maintain the best possible staff we can. So you don't want to cut benefits and salaries of teachers. You want to encourage the teachers to be their very best and make sure that there's rewards in place for that. So programmatically and curriculum-wise, the district has to make very sure that we take the best steps we can going forward. Tim Collins, the superintendent, has been wonderful to work with in this district. He took the district from a position of being in statutory operating debt and actually has smaller class sizes and has built a reserve, working with the board and everyone appropriately. So we're in a position now where we're financially healthy. We have good curriculum, good people in place, special services, curriculum and instruction, or teaching and learning, and all the various things are there. But never just look at the moment, look in the crystal ball and get engaged with the stakeholders, stay engaged with the community. There's a tremendous diversity coming into the community, and the district needs to embrace that and move forward with it. If you walk into younger classrooms at the sites, it's not the same as it looked 15 years ago. And that's a good thing. And we need to grow with that and figure out the best things we can do educationally to grow. You know, there's talk about moving for college and career readiness, moving slightly away from college readiness to some of the non-college vocations and preparedness related to that. Our staff's already working on all those things, and we just need to nurture them in the right way, thank them for what they do, support them in that. We have tremendous people if they can be supported in the right way, and I think the district gets that. They have to start thinking about succession planning with Tim. That's a big issue. You have to support technology, but not let technology rule you. And we're never better as a district than we are with any one individual child. So for me, when I first came on the board, there was this walking distance thing. And there was, for instance, some students who would live over in the Cowtown area of town, and I don't say that disparagingly, it's just a nickname for the neighborhood, would have to walk to middle school for school. So they'd have to cross 55 and walk quite a ways. Well, I think we as a district looked at those students who had to walk that distance on the worst possible days. And the worst possible day isn't 20 below, could be, ask the crossing guard again. But I think the worst possible day is a rainy day when it's 28. So that by the time they get to the middle school, their backpack, and everything about them is really wet and really cold. And what are we doing to welcome that child that day to school? And how are we doing with him or her and their parents and their family and their loved ones? And this district does support those students, and it has to continue to do that. Reach out to every student, embrace the community and the stakeholders, and have everything working.
What tips do you have for Lisa Hedin taking over as chair for the board, or any new school board member that comes up that is appointed here to fill your position? Because I understand that's going to be part of the process as well. There'll be a new board member.
Yeah. She just needs to do whatever she wants to do the way it needs to be authentic and embrace all the nuances of the district, and I think she can do that. But it has to be on her terms and in her manner. To evolve things in better than you always take it and you try to move it better than when you had it. So hopefully she'll make it much better.
And going back to your crystal ball, is there any chance of you running for a school board in Colorado?
I don't think so, and I'm worried about that. Not running for school board, but not being able to be as active with my kids as I would like to be. And the reason is I think I'll have to be engaged in that job a lot. So I need to try to find that balance, and hopefully I can get there, but no, I don't envision participating in their school boards.
So the yard signs might just be left behind here in Hastings, huh?
Dumpsters, yeah.
There's a clearance sale on Vince O'Brien for school board signs right now, huh?
Yes, if someone else has the name Vince O'Brien and wants to run for school board, they are most welcome to have all that stuff.
I want to thank you for all your service, and I think I speak on behalf of everyone watching this that you've done a great job. I appreciate all you've done for this community and for the school district. And I got to say, in particular for the station, you have been a huge cheerleader for us at HCTV, and it's been very, very nice to have.
You guys do great work.
Well, we try. We really try. I have a great staff, fortunately.
Yeah, you do.
But we wish you the best on your future endeavors, and don't be a stranger.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
One final thing. I'd like to give you the opportunity to say anything you'd like to Hastings. Perhaps, I don't know if you have a little farewell speech planned, but is there anything you'd like to say to Hastings?
I found a quote from Helen Keller. I don't have something prepared, but I found a quote from Helen Keller who was obviously a force in life. And Helen reflected that when she looked back on some things and some people, she felt good when she looked back on some things. And whenever I reflect on Hastings, the people here, and the way they care and contribute to the students and the community, I will feel very good. And I think that does say a lot.
It does. Well, thank you again, Mr. Vince O'Brien.
Thank you.
Longtime school board member, now heading off to Colorado for a new exciting opportunity there. And again, we wish you the best.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us, for watching us, and we'll see you next time.